Hey friends, it's Simon Hurley and welcome to another video. I am so excited today to be back. I was cleaning my craft room for a long time, but it feels much better in here. So somebody had requested to see a closer look at the Scene Maker stencil. I know lots of you guys are loving this because it is so versatile and you can create so many different scenes with it. And in today's video, I'll share a deeper look at this, and I'm also going to give some tips on how to create some really great masculine cards, because I think sometimes we struggle with that, so I'll incorporate that through today's video. So let me turn on to my work surface and get into it. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Scene Maker stencil, and let me show you a couple different ways you could use this, and then at the end I'll kind of finish it off with the home run stamp set to create a really fun masculine baseball card. So I'm going to pull this out. You get the stencil in here, and you also get the masks for the mountain, the sun, clouds, and the birds in the set. I'm going to pull out the mountain mask because I find this one to be super useful when I'm creating some different scenes, especially for this first scene I'm going to create here. A scene that uses a lot of the different images in this, and that's why I wanted it all on one, so you could really create an endless amount of scenes. So let's start off with the grass. I'm going to go in with a little bit of Psych, which is this really bright green color that I love. And one thing that some people were concerned with is how close the images were together, and that you might need to do some masking. Now for me, we really made sure that these images were far enough apart so that if you are careful and you're tilting your blending tool upward, which is usually how I blend in stencils and things like that, that you're not going to get ink on any places you don't want to. But if you want to tape off certain sections quickly or anything like that, you totally can. We just like to incorporate tons of images on one stencil so you get the best bang out of your buck. So I'm going to then go in with a little bit of Tropical Tango and just hit the top edge. And that's why I love these stencils for layering and things like this, because you can really add your own shading to it, which I love. And these two colors together create such a beautiful green. I'm going to go in here and place this down, and you can make them however high or low you want. Just going to hold that down, and again, you could tape your stencil down too if you want. I'm going to go in with a little bit of Gur, which is my brown color, named after my puppy. And I'm just going to go in here and start my blending. And to do this without having to mask off the grass or anything like that, I just start at the top and I do the darkest shading at the top by just kind of layering the color down. And then as I get to the bottom, I kind of lift my color a little bit and just bring, see, that's probably why you want to tape things down, but I'll just line it right back up. Perfect. And then I'm going to just bring that color down to the bottom, and it definitely fills in that space enough to look like those mountains, which I think is so awesome. So now I told you guys that this mountain mask is going to come in handy because we are going to mask this off for the sun to be placed here. I'm just going to take a little bit of purple tape, the same tape I've been talking about how I should be using, and I'm going to take this. First off, I'll tape down my piece first, and then I'll tape down my stencil so it's not going to move as I do my ink blending. And then we can go in with the sun, and this is helpful because you can make the sun kind of peeking out from behind the mountain. So I'll go in with a little bit of Over the Moon, which is this really light yellow color that I just love. And then I'll bring in a little bit of Guppy, which is this orange color. It's again really bright, but definitely a lot darker than Over the Moon. And I'll just go in and blend this out, putting that darkest shading where that kind of meets the mountain there. And then once I peel this off, you have the magic of masking that makes that sun behind the mountain. So that's why we wanted to include those masks in this set as well. So then I'll go in with my clouds. And to do these, it's quite simple. Now I know why the other companies make stencils with clouds on each side to give you more of a variation. But sometimes when I see people using them, I only see them using one side because you can really get a lot of variation from just one side of this stencil. So like I said, if you really wanted to, let me just show you. I usually wouldn't do this, but these ones are a little tight here. And so you might need to just add a little bit of tape to the stars to mask them off, or the birds if you want to. Now I like to use a little bit of Minty Fresh for my blending. The cool part about this color is it's kind of a subtle green bluish, minty, but also has a little bit of gray in it. I just love this color. And so I'll go in here and do a little bit of blending. And you'll see me, I just kind of move this stencil around and use different sections of it to fill out the sky. I'm going in with kind of a light hand. And you could really go to different sections of this cloud to create different clouds in the sky. And if I want to, you know, it's a double-sided thing. You could use either side of your stencil. Let me go up here, kind of fill that in. Let me go in here and fill that part in. So it just looks like different clouds, right? So that's really awesome. And then if I wanted to, I can go in with a second color. Here I'll go in with a little bit of clear skies. And I left kind of some gaps in between there. So I can go in with my other color and fill those areas in. And if I want to, look, I picked that up. Let's say I wanted a total variation. I'll move it to a different section of the clouds that kind of lines up with it. See, so you can really, guys, get so much use out of this stencil by just moving it. Just get creative with how you move it around, and you'll get some really unique looking clouds that don't look like anything you've blended, even though you're using the same stencil for all of it. So tons of variation, and I just love this scene. It would go perfectly along with the new road trip stamp set, which I just think is so much fun. You know, put a little plane in the sky or that little car with them on the road, and I just think that's adorable. Or you could use this as just kind of a nice scene and put a sentiment on it and have it be a little bit more sophisticated. Now, I want to show another scene using these clouds, but as water. So if you want to, all you need to do is, instead of using the clouds this way, turn them, and then you totally get waves, which I think is so cool. So let me go in here with clear skies, and I'll go in and just do a little bit of blending. This time I'm definitely going in with a more heavy hand because I want these to be nice and blue. And look, right? Just so much fun. You get these waves. Again, they're definitely more pointed of waves. They're not calm waters, but I just love that you could get waves out of this stencil as well. I just think that is so much fun. And again, start from wherever you want to make it look totally different. And look, it looks like a completely different wave from there to there. And look, I'll match this area up with this one. Like, literally so simple to create a totally different wave pattern. So just get some completely different looks, and definitely clean off your stencil, because this is some excess ink from the other side as I keep flipping it and haven't cleaned this once. So clean your stencil and then you won't get a messy look. If you want to add a little bit of water to give it some texture, my inks react with that water really beautifully, and you can get some fun texture in your waves as well. But this would go along beautifully with our Surf's Up stamp set and mermaid theme stamp sets. Just makes it look adorable. And then again, you could do a sky scene with those clouds if you wanted to, and make the sun kind of peeking out of there for a cool beachy scene. But I just love that you can use this as waves as well. There are so many different stamp sets in the Simon Hurley Create line that can work hand in hand with the Scene Maker stencil to create some really awesome cards. Since we have lots of different critters and dudes and things like that that can kind of be playing on these scenes. So let me make a card using the new Home Run stamp set and create kind of a baseball scene with this. So to start off, I'm going to grab a piece of my Stark White cardstock so we can get to doing some blending. I've cleaned off my stencil from everything else I've done so I don't get any transfer of ink from my stencil onto my new card. And you'll notice that this top edge has just a little tiny bit of kind of a divot in it. And that's because I wanted this to be kind of just a little bit of a hill. Right? I'm going to use this side of the stencil. Again, you can kind of flip to decide where you want this really. And I'm going to go in with a little bit of grr to create like a pitching mound or a batting mound, just kind of some of that dirt that would be on the baseball field. Just lightly blend this brown color onto my background. And that's going to create the perfect little mound for our batter. Now I'm going to create a little bit of grass beneath it. So let me put some grass here and we'll do a little blending. Again, here I'm using Tropical Tango. This time I started with Tropical Tango, and then I'll bring a little bit of Psych in to kind of bring some of that lighter yellow pop of color into my background. Okay, so once that's all complete, we have our nice little grass piece, our mound. So this background was done with just the excess ink without even having to re-ink my blending tool at all. So then I'm going to go in with the home run stamp set, and I'm going to start off with this chain link fence. Now this is a cool background that you can use if you want to, create a little fence across your card. You can repeat this pattern going upwards or side to side, and it's a continuous pattern as you go along. So I'm going to use a little bit of woof, which is my gray tone, and I'm just going to ink this up. And then we can stamp it down. So this little fence kind of area is going to be right behind our baseball player, and I'll do it the whole way across my card so I can show you how this pattern easily continues. So I'm just going to look over my background to make sure it lines up easily, and then stamp it down. And you can see that chain link fence just goes straight across. So I love to include this in the stamp set instead of just doing a full background, because then you could do just one part of the fence, or you can kind of continue it across or up your whole card. So now let's add some of the main images from the home run stamp set, like the heads and bodies and things like that. One of the coolest parts about this stamp set is that it actually coordinates and is the same size as the Dudes 2 stamp set, and also the Surf's Up stamp set from the Simon Hurley Create line. So this one actually has a girl's head in it, so you could use that for any of these, and we'll probably be creating more girl stamp sets as well in the future with more heads. And this one also has a ponytail you can add to the player as well. But the cool part is you can interchange the heads to make it look like whoever you're creating the card for, which I just think is so much fun. You can really stamp either one first, but I find stamping the body first is a little bit easier. It makes the head just a little bit easier to line up. So I'm going to stamp that down, give it good pressure, and then let's stamp down the head as well. So I'm just going to ink this up the exact same way. And then the easy part about this is you can see the bottom of the head stamp and look right under your acrylic block to see how easily that lines up with the body. Then I'm just taking some of the Simon Hurley Create inks, adding them to the surface of my craft sheet, and then I can start my watercoloring. So I'm just going to go in here with a little bit of water. For the skin tone, I like to mix together a little bit of Gur with Over the Moon, and you can mix kind of whatever ratio you want to get whatever skin tone you'd like. I find that that's the perfect mix. And then I'm just going to kind of watercolor this image in. So I did kind of a light wash of that whole red color, and if I want a more solid color, I'll go in with a little bit less water and pick up that color with my brush. And that just allows me to add in any shading that I want on that image. So I'll do the same thing with the top of the baseball hat. I'll add a little bit of shading, and then kind of blend that out into the rest of the image. And that's a really easy way to use that same color but get a little bit of darkness on that image. And anything that I'm coloring white, like his uniform, I'll go in with a little bit of woof, which is that gray tone, and then I'll just blend that out. And adding a little bit of shading on white just makes it a little bit more interesting and adds some more depth to the image. So don't just leave that white, just add a little bit of shading and color to it with gray. To finish this off, I'm just going to stamp home plate down here for the little batter there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that too much, but it'll just be a small detail. And this is an important part of making masculine cards, I find, is I just keep it kind of low on embellishments. But if you want to add a little bit more interest, adding things like foam tape to pop stuff up and things like that will add a little bit more interest to your card without making it a little bit more feminine with glitter and things like that. So stay off of the embellishments and keep it quite simple and clean, and I find that it's a little bit easier to make masculine cards. To finish this card off, I'm going to use one of the sentiments that says Happy Birthday Slugger, but I'm definitely stamping this in my Misty because I don't want to mess it up at this point in the card. So I'm just going to line it up there, link it up with a little bit of black ink. I've had a couple questions on kind of what color is the best for sentiments. I always usually do black because it stands out the most than any other color. So perfect. That stamped well the first time, but having the Misty is a lifesaver because if I needed to stamp it twice, I definitely could. And here is the finished card. I really love how this one turned out. I love this new home run stamp set because it really brings the images for guys to a whole new level. There's not many sports stamp sets on the market right now, so this baseball one that we just created is so much fun and we'll definitely be filling in more sports soon. I think one main tip for masculine cards is really starting off with a good image for guys, and this set definitely does that. I always tell people you don't need to be afraid of color when creating cards for guys. Here are two examples of them. A lot of times during class when somebody says they're creating a card for their husband or something, they start pulling out the brown and grays and just use those colors, when really here are two cards that I created for guys using the Puppy Pun stamp set and the Window Maker stencil for this one, and using the Dudes 2 stamp set for this one. And you can see I incorporated lots of different colors in here. You can really have fun with color. I would just say leave some of the embellishments out, but if you start off with a good image for guys and you incorporate color and kind of some cool textures in the background with stamps and stuff, you'll be good to go. Alright guys, I hope you really enjoyed seeing this video and learned a little bit more about the Scene Maker stencil, the Home Run stamp set, and a couple different tips on creating some masculine cards and easy techniques for it. If you want to see more videos on creating masculine cards and tips, let me know in the comments down below, and let me know your favorite tips for creating masculine cards and how you would use some of the stencils and products that I shared in today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a big thumbs up and be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the little bell notification next to the subscribe to make sure you never miss a video whenever I upload something new. I'll see you guys very, very soon in another card making and crafting video. Have a great day. Bye!